Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President and Founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. It's Tuesday, so happy Tuesday to you. I hope you enjoyed our session with Ken Rubin yesterday, talking all about dependencies. That was an awesome session. Today, I was sent an article from one of our subscribers talking about the top 5 objections to Scrum and why many of those objections could be wrong. So I thought this was an interesting way to kick off the week. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. The first objection that many people have when we talk about implementing Scrum or Agile in general is that there's just too many meetings. We just don't have time. When the truth is that if you follow some key principles or practices, you can actually save time doing things this way. And I know that sounds crazy because people often ask, how can having a meeting save time? Well, one of the things that we did was we put together the Agile Meetings Playbook. It's a guide that you can download on the AgileDad website in the download section. And it talks about the proper way to make sure that you have a meeting going your way, right? We also did RATs earlier to talk about making sure you have the right people, the agenda, the time box, etc. But we want to make sure that you have all these key pieces. And I mean, I think I sort of gave it away just now in my little acronym, but you want to make sure that the right people are in attendance. That can certainly affect the amount of time people spend in a meeting. You want to make sure you have a clear agenda. You want to make sure that the meeting is time boxed, and you want to make sure that you stay focused and that you have all the things available that you need so that you understand what the expected output is from that meeting and what things we have to provide when we come. And I think that if we're doing those things, that we can make sure that meetings are time boxed or framed in such a way that they're not only meaningful, but that they're short time frame. And I think that as long as you do that, people don't, in essence, mind attending meetings if they're useful. So I think it's just a matter of organizing meetings in such a way that they are useful and making sure you're focused on having the right meetings, right? But when you look at this from the outside looking in, a lot of people see these meetings as, oh my goodness, I have to have a meeting every day. When I was doing traditional project management, I didn't have to do that. But the truth is, there was a lot more time in other sessions that would easily absorb each of those daily 7-minute meetings, right? So it's one of these things where you can either try to get all the updates in at once and have hour-long or 2-hour-long meetings, or you could have a daily short meeting and get better information that's fresher, that's more relevant, and do those kinds of things. So I can vote right here that, even though on the surface it may appear like Agile has more meetings or Scrum has more meetings, the truth is those meetings are necessary as long as you keep them focused and time boxed. Coming at number 2. There's no way we can deliver a working product or service in less than a month. Okay, I'm going to tell you a secret. Nobody's ever said you had to. So, this boils down to the whole concept of potentially shippable versus shippable. And I think that for ages, for eons, we were given a 5-year time period to get something done, and Parkinson's law would kick in and we'd drag everything out for the entire 5 years. And what we delivered in the end often wasn't what the end consumer was looking for because we didn't have the empirical process. We didn't have the chance to inspect and adapt. So I feel like if we can focus better, once again, we're back on focus, these Scrum values are so important. Then we can focus on delivering incremental improvements to the software or to the project or to the product that already exists. And we can deliver smaller pieces that are easily consumable, that can add value to whatever's existing, and eventually can become part of the greater product or service. I think the myth here, well, there's 2. One is that it's impossible to break things down into smaller pieces. I remember having a conversation with Alistair Coburn some time ago, and we were talking about how, even when it's hard to break things down, you still can. So I think that, the lazy man will say, it's impossible to break things down, but then there's always someone to assist that person to help them get things broken down into a proper way. I think the second part of this, though, is that there's this myth that, adding incremental value isn't important until someone can see the final result. And that's not necessarily true. The whole concept of Parkinson's law, where we say if you give people more time, then they're going to take that amount of time to do the work. Where if you give people less time, they'll deliver something of value, and you have the chance to start the feedback loop. And I think that this is something that a lot of people miss. The feedback loop is incredibly important, and it's something that we need to make sure we're focused on. Okay, coming in at number 3. We have deadlines. If we have deadlines and a fixed date schedule, we can't use Agile. We can't use Scrum. The truth is, Scrum should increase the probability of meeting the deadline. Here, I'm even going to go here. Even if you went to the nth degree and you use safe ensure you meet the deadline, right? There's the whole concept of time being associated with Agile in such a way that we can't get things done. And that just sounds so weird to me, because the truth is, when it comes to estimation and forecasting by a team, I try to remove time completely from the equation. But when it comes time for us to forecast a date of a release, or if time for us to talk about how many sprints we can include as part of our budget, time is certainly part of the equation. And I think the confusion here is that people try to tie time on both sides of that equation. They try to force the team to use time for all their estimates and for all their forecasting. And the truth is, people have different skill sets and different tools. Their estimates are wrong. Therefore, time doesn't work. And we miss all our deadlines because we based all our deadlines based on their time-based estimates. If we buckle down and say that time isn't important when it comes to estimation and forecasting, but time is critical when it comes to setting release dates and deadlines, I think that gives you, as Hannah Montana would say, the best of both worlds, right? It gives you both sides of the equation, which I think is important. And I think it's something that's often missed. So make sure you understand how to separate the two, when to use one and when to use the other. Here's another one. We need to plan. There's just no planning in Scrum. Well, I don't know who told you that, but that couldn't be any further from the truth, right? In fact, Scrum or Agile embraces continuous planning. And I think that's the difference. People are so used to heavyweight upfront planning to come up with the perfect technical user requirements document, the several hundred-page document, right? And they're not used to the concept of small, incremental, iterative plan cycles. So they're not used to saying, okay, I'm going to meet for just a few minutes or for under an hour, and that we're going to talk about what we're going to do in the next day or the next week, and get that type of planning done more frequently. The truth is, if you have the incremental planning or the iterative planning process, what's going to happen is it's going to give you more frequent opportunities to inspect and adapt. It's going to allow you to get to market faster, and it's going to allow you to have higher quality because you can include things like test automation in the plan. So I think that overarching, the myth is that Agile doesn't have a plan, but that's not true. The plan is continuous throughout each of the 2-week sprint cycles, thereby giving you a plan throughout instead of just a plan up front. So in actuality, when people say we need to plan, so we're not using Scrum or Agile because we're not doing the right planning, this is an indicator that something else is in play. I believe that every single product or project that you build goes through 4 phases. You have ideation or initiation. You have the MVP, discovery phase, right, where you're discovering and doing your MVP. Then you have delivery and feature build out, and then finally release. And I think that what most people overlook is they always want to start their Agile projects in the delivery phase instead of looking at the initiator, ideation, or the MVP phase. And I think that you need to have those two in order to have the right level of planning. And I think that's probably where the confusion comes from with this one. You need to make sure you're incorporating all 4 phases as part of your Agile framework. Okay, coming in next, our management team will never go for it. It's too much fun in the office. There's too many. What is all this? It's like a party. It's like a celebration. Now, I recently had someone look at my LinkedIn profile, right? Someone that I invited to look at my LinkedIn profile. And they sent me a terse response back. And their response was, I am not going to connect to you because, in my opinion, it appears that your LinkedIn profile is a circus and that you don't take yourself seriously. Well, after I smiled for a few minutes, I thought it was kind of funny. What people don't realize is that I'm so passionate about what I do and I love what I do so much that I can make it enjoyable. I can make it fun, and it's okay, right? And I think that sometimes I go into environments where people are so used to being stoic that they believe that the management team would never go for something like this. The truth is, and here's a secret, I've held the titles. I've been CEO, CIO, CTO of a bunch of different companies, EIO. I've earned all my letters. What I can tell you is that C-level executives would give their left arm for predictability, even if they were left-handed. So where am I going with this? They don't care if you do an Agile or Fragile, or Scrum or Brum or Chum, or XP or IP. None of that matters to them. They just want you to do what you say and say what you do. And I think that if Scrum or if Agile is a tool to get there, that they are going to be all for this, right? I think the things that are missing is that they don't know how to understand delivery value. So you have to find ways to show them that you're delivering value throughout. I think also there's confusion over some of the roles. And I think that it's important for us to understand what their responsibilities and what our expectations are of the leadership, as well as what they can expect from us. And then, of course, you have to focus on self-organization. And I think that sometimes letting go is hard. And when you look at it from those perspectives, I think that that makes Agile even more durable than some of the other ways you could do things. So I hope this was useful to you. I hope it was helpful. Those 5 things, those 5 objections were really, really cool. And they're things that I hear all the time. So thanks for bringing them to my attention. If you have a topic you'd like to cover, learn more at agiledad.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to cover your topic as part of the Daily Stand-Up. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.